When I think about international decisions and their ripple effects, it always reminds me that leadership is not just about headlines or short term victories.
Recently, I've been reflecting on some of the choices made regarding China, policies that were intended to assert strength or control. And while intentions matter, outcomes are what truly shape people's lives and global dynamics. Policy decisions, especially those affecting global relations, are incredibly complex. They touch economies, families, businesses, and ultimately the everyday experiences of millions of people. When a decision leads to heightened tension, uncertainty, or disruption, it's worth stepping back and asking, could there have been a better approach? A more balanced, thoughtful strategy? I've always believed that technology and connection are powerful tools. They can unite people, foster understanding, and create opportunity. Similarly, governance and international policy should be guided not just by power, but by foresight, empathy, and collaboration. From my perspective, the approach toward China might not have achieved the intended outcomes. It risked creating more division, more uncertainty, and potentially more conflict than cooperation. And when I consider the human side of this, the workers affected by tariffs, the students impacted by visa restrictions, the families feeling economic stress, it becomes clear that leadership decisions are never abstract. They ripple into real lives, often in ways that statistics alone cannot capture. I don't say this as a critique in anger, I say it as a reflection. A reminder that even the most influential leaders must consider long-term impact over immediate headlines. Because strength is not measured only by firmness in policy. True strength is measured by foresight, by understanding consequences, and by creating pathways for collaboration rather than only confrontation. And this applies universally. Whether it's a business decision, a technology rollout, or a geopolitical move, considering multiple perspectives and anticipating human impact is what separates thoughtful leadership from reactive action. I think about the businesses that operate across borders, companies that rely on predictable trade, partnerships, and mutual trust. When decisions are abrupt or aggressive, it disrupts not only markets but human opportunity. People lose jobs, families lose stability, and innovation slows down. And those are consequences that no headline can fully capture. Now let's think about diplomacy. A word often simplified in media coverage, diplomacy is not weakness. It is the art of understanding, negotiation, and compromise without compromising fundamental principles. And while forceful policies might make a bold statement in the short term, diplomacy can produce lasting outcomes that truly benefit people, economies, and societies. I've also been reflecting on how social media amplifies these decisions. Every policy move is instantly broadcast to millions, analyzed in real time, and often misunderstood. This adds pressure on leaders, but also provides an opportunity to communicate clearly, to educate, and to foster dialogue instead of division. One of the lessons I keep coming back to is that empathy is not a liability in leadership. It's essential. Understanding the global impact of a single decision, from trade restrictions to technology bans, requires stepping into the shoes of those affected and thinking beyond immediate political gain. I don't have all the answers, and no single voice does. But reflection, discussion, and awareness are the first steps toward better outcomes. That's why conversations like this matter, not for sensationalism, but to pause, consider, and learn. And if you're watching this, I want you to reflect too. Think about the systems around you, political, economic, social, and the people affected by them. Even if you cannot influence international policy directly, awareness and understanding shape how we vote, how we advocate, and how we interact with the world. And before we go further, if you value calm, thoughtful perspectives like this, I invite you to subscribe to Z-Style Reflections. Here, we discuss leadership, policy, and human impact, not for sensationalism, but to foster reflection and understanding. Returning to the topic, I also think about long-term strategy. Short-term wins can feel gratifying, but without considering downstream effects, they can produce instability. International decisions should aim for sustainable growth, stable relationships, and mutual respect. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about navigating them wisely. When I consider the tension created by recent policies toward China, I don't focus on blame, I focus on lessons. Lesson 1, anticipate consequences. Think through the ripple effects on economies, families, students, and businesses. Lesson 2, dialogue matters. Constructive communication can prevent misunderstanding and conflict. Lesson 3, humanity should be central. Behind every economic statistic, behind every trade deal, are real people. Leadership requires courage, yes, but it also requires reflection, patience, and foresight. And when we evaluate decisions through that lens, we can start to see where alternative approaches could have mitigated negative outcomes and fostered more constructive relationships. I also think about global collaboration, a word often overlooked in media coverage. Collaboration doesn't mean compromise of principles. It means building bridges where possible so that people's lives are stabilized and opportunities are created. And while criticism can feel harsh, this is not criticism in the traditional sense. This is reflection, observation, perspective. Because highlighting where a decision may not achieve intended outcomes is not a personal attack. It's a call to think, learn, and grow. Ultimately, the goal is simple: better decisions, more foresight, greater empathy. Whether in business, technology, or geopolitics, these qualities produce lasting value. They prevent unnecessary suffering, stabilize communities, and create environments where innovation and human potential can flourish. So as you reflect on these events, I encourage you to do the same. Think about the consequences, the ripple effects, the human stories behind headlines, because understanding is the first step toward meaningful impact. And finally, if this perspective resonates with you, consider subscribing to Z-Style Reflections. Here we explore issues critically, calmly, and thoughtfully, encouraging reflection over reaction and understanding over division. Because at the end of the day, leadership, policy, and human progress are all intertwined, and reflection is the foundation of improvement.